All right, so we're going to get started. Let's turn that off. All right, we're going to replay a game that Karsten played with ChatGPT a couple of yesterday, I think it was.
Indeed.
Let me find it here. That'd be nice if I was organized here. Here we go. All right, so we're going to replay this game. This is the first time I'm introducing you the new chess program that I made called I call it Chessboard Vision, and the idea is to show some of the numbers. I probably should give you a little explanation of what these numbers are at first, just to give you an idea. But the idea is to show which which squares are more advantageous for white and which ones are more advantageous for black. So if you have a positive number on a square, that means that square is defended or covered by white more times than black. And then if it's a negative number, it's the opposite the other way. So at the moment, you can see at the very beginning of the game, no one's covering the middle, so everyone's got a 0. And then on the right hand side, it shows how many total moves you have. So at the beginning of a chess game, there are 20 moves that white have and 20 that black has. And that there are a certain number of attacks that each side has that you're covering. That's basically like how many pieces you're covering or squares that you're covering multiple times. And then also which square is the best square and which square is the worst square for each side. I also have this button here called board notation, so you can turn on board notation. That's kind of helpful, so you can see what's happening there. And then I have some other things like helping, which we'll turn on the helping to see if there's any if the idea of helping is to show you if you hung a piece or something. Okay, and then said, what's this one? Hide board viz. That's to hide the numbers there once in a while. We'll leave that. And then the piece values, you show how many squares that you're touching at any given moment. So this helps differentiate between like a good bishop and a bad bishop. So at the moment, each of these bishops is only touching just a few squares, so they can't do too much. But as you move along through the game, you'll find that one bishop becomes far more valuable than another. All right, so with all that, by the way, my name is Christian. I don't know if you can see Karsten over there, but that's him. And so we're going to start this game off. And okay, so ChatGPT decided that it'll be white, and so Karsten decided to start off, and so he started with the game with e4. Pretty typical kind of start. And then Karsten met it with the e6, the French defense. And the whole time, I don't know if you can see this, but they're commentating like, nice choice. You're playing the French defense. And then he says, I'll continue with d4. So he goes ahead and takes the center. It makes a lot of sense. And Karsten goes with, let's see here. He plays knight to c3.
What? No. I played.
No. What'd you do?
I played d5.
D5. Thank you. You took d5. So he's doing a French variation, the classical variation of the French defense, and then let's see. He plays knight to c3. That's it. Okay. We got this figured out. So he goes here. So you can see that turn red because now that he's covered it, it's back to a neutral color. Right? Okay. All right. So then he plays knight to f6. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
I got Karsten here helping me just because this is important. So he's putting more pressure on that pawn. And they go with e5. E5, which is what, the advanced variation? Something like that.
Something like that.
All right. All right. So then Karsten, seeing an opportunity, decides to go for knight to e4. So he's starting to invade the opponent's territory here, and got some helpers. He could get kicked out though, so it's not a great move. Also, there could be a trade going on. We'll see what happens. Okay. Interesting choice. That's what he says. You're playing an early jump to challenge my center. So he responds with knight takes e4. So that didn't last long. So he takes, and I think he takes back. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
And now we have kind of a funky looking center here.
My pawn does restrict his knight.
Your pawn does restrict the knight, yes, to some degree. Absolutely. That's good. All right, so take. And so he continued with bishop to e3. So here, bishop to e3. Okay, so just a typical developing move. Karsten went knight to c6. You can see that number turned to 8. So that means he has 8. Now he can touch 8 squares. So that's the value of that knight there. It'll if a knight's in the middle, it'll always be 8. All right, so and you can kind of see the squares that are getting weaker and stronger in the middle, and which ones are neutral, etc. So this is kind of helpful for a new. I'm hoping that this is kind of a prototype, and I'm kind of hoping this is an interesting way of looking at a chessboard for new players. All right, so where were we here? It's White's turn, and he went with c3.
Indeed.
c3. Okay, so he's shoring up his center a bit, and Karsten replies with bishop to e7. So you are here?
Yes.
Does that look about right?
That's where I went because I was getting ready to castle.
Getting ready to castle is what he's thinking, and kind of setting him a battery here. Not sure for any particular reason, but that's all right. You're getting ready to castle, solid play. So ChatGPT sees it. Can't fool ChatGPT. Queen to g4. So queen to g4. Interesting. So then all of a sudden, look at that. Queen to g4 forks the two pawns. Two weak pawns. That's a problem for Karsten. And he goes ahead and castles. So boom.
Solving one of them.
Solving one of the problems. I hit the save game just so that in case something goes wrong, because it is a prototype. You never know. We can get back to that spot. So, all right. So at that point, I believe the queen went ahead and took the free pawn like a Christmas present that Karsten gave the ChatGPT and said, "Thank you very much. I'll keep up the pressure." So he then goes f5 because why not? And also because I think Karsten wanted to know if ChatGPT knew what en passant was, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so boom, hits the queen and kind of forces a queen retreat and brings it back to c2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Don't really know.
All right, so then Karsten went to queen to d5, kind of assuming the center that the other queen recently retreated. And now you can see that there's a little bit of an imbalance here with multiple attackers against one defender.
Well, it doesn't really matter too much.
Doesn't matter too much because that's a pawn against a knight, but it is showing the imbalance, which is kind of cool. All right, so queen to d5, and then move 11, we go knight to f3. So now that pawn is out of the way, the development can continue. So far, so good. Doesn't look too bad. You're pushing aggressively. Nice. Let's see, now f4. So now we're getting a bit aggressive. We've got some coverage by the knight, or by the rook. Thank you. We got the right word. And so we're getting a little too aggressive maybe, but here we go. And it says, you're pushing aggressively. Nice. You're trying to gain space and attack my position. I'll respond with bishop to d2. He moves back, just a little retreat action. All right, and then b6. Yes?
Yeah.
b6. Now, so far, you'll also note that ChatGPT has not done any illegal moves. This has all been legit so far. I can't promise it'll be legit the whole time. ChatGPT, you never know what it's going to do. All right, so we did the b6 move, solid development. Believed the thinking was to try to develop the bishop, right?
Fianchetto.
To fianchetto the bishop and get it on a better square than it is. So it now goes, let's see here, bishop to d3. So it's now continuing development as well. And creating a battery against this pawn here. Not great. And so now you're showing a little bit of some concerns for your king side, and that is a bit of a concern. All right, so we continue with g6 because, right, if we're going to have some trouble, at least we're backing it up a bit. Okay, so g6, reinforcing your king side and preparing for pawn advances. Good play. That's what ChatGPT. It's so complimentary of your play, Karsten.
Exactly.
It's very, very kind. Okay, so
I should get ChatGPT at my chess tournaments.
Queen to d7.
It encouraged me the whole time.
Let me see here. We went with g6, and they continue with bishop to e4. So bringing here, bishop to e4, hitting the queen, and tangentially hitting, x-raying the unprotected knight and the unprotected rook. So not a good move for Karsten. So he's got some problems, and he's going to retreat back to queen to d7. Not sure that was the best move, but okay. It does protect there, and it kind of keeps things more or less solid. Keeping the queen flexible. All right, continuing with h4. Yeah. h4. So now, all of a sudden, the pawn storm has begun. He's got good support from both the rook and the knight against the bishop, so it's a +1 square. And all of a sudden, you're starting to get a little bit nervous about your pawns. All right, so your move is queen to e8 to try to reinforce the pawn, yet at the same time still covering the knight against this attack. And the queen is a bit overworked, but we're trying to hold the position together. Yeah?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Very good.
Well, I was doing that.
All right, and ChatGPT, you're reposition your king, possibly to support kingside defense. Nice. Look at this. This thing is so smart. h5, next move. So it's continuing the pawn storm, and now there's looking like there's some trouble here. All right, so your move is bishop to b7, kind of ignores the pawn storm, and fianchettos the bishop. And now to continue, pawn takes g6. And then h takes g6.
If I don't recapture, then he'd get a pass pawn, he'd promote.
There's some problems. So okay, so now we're running out of pawns in front of the king. So this isn't looking too good for the good guys here. You're keeping, and this is what I love about it. You're keeping your king side structure intact. Solid choice. Which doesn't feel like much structure, except that I guess there is 2 pawns technically still on this side. One is just so overextended that it's almost worthless to defend the king, though, at this point. So he continues with now castling on the queen side. Okay. So now you're starting to feel some pressure. Again, the pawn's under some attack by the battery. So we move up to king to g7. Right? Kind of. Yeah, kind of. All right. So he continues with g3. All right. Hitting the mostly unprotected pawn that's out there in La La Land. It is protected by the rook, though. But you're hit a couple of different ways with pieces that are less valuable than the rook.
I can't really protect him too well either.
He's kind of hanging out there. All right, so what makes sense? Well, why not go all in and protect it with the pawn? Sure. Okay, so now it's it's we've got a bit more security over here with the bishop and the queen, and now there's some security that the pawn is now caught up. Bold play, aggressive kingside push. All right, so now g takes f4. So we take, and now we're creating some issues. We've got a -1 here with one attacker or one defender, two attackers. And Karsten replies with g takes f4. So
which probably isn't the best move
may not be,
because it opens up the g file.
but now we have some really open, a very naked king. Is that about the fair of it?
This is where the regular stuff more or less.
So now things really start to melt down here for the good guys, where the ChatGPT plays rook to g1, and I'll check. And there's nowhere to go over here. I suppose you could defend, but again, nothing.
Just take it.
Not
mate is coming.
Not good moves. Okay, so in desperation, Karsten plays bishop to g5, which isn't a good move. It's
what do you mean? That's the only thing that you can do.
I suppose you could have moved your king.
Yeah, but you just get checked.
Well, yeah, it's not looking good. Okay, so he plays bishop to g5, and so then, to my surprise, ChatGPT, I would have probably played and kept the pressure on in the check, but no, ChatGPT plays knight to g5. Interesting.
So if you had taken with the rook, it'd be king to f7 would be the only.
But it's still a pretty bad deal. The king has no safe squares except for ones that would be immediately a discovered check the minute the knight moves back. Mm-hmm. The knight's covering
f7.
The f7 square now, so there's all sorts of problems now. All right, so more desperation. Karsten plays queen to g6.
Sacrificing the queen.
Pretty much sacrificing the queen.
But there's a reason, and you'll figure out why later.
All right, the reason. You're keeping the pressure and aiming for counterplay. That's not exactly true. I don't understand that, what he's talking about there. All right. Now, bishop takes g6. Imagine that. Hung the queen on purpose, but so now we have that. Let's see. What's happening with this square? Okay, we lost the defender of that square, so now we have a hanging pawn.
That's very important right now. Yep.
Yeah, okay, so now we have, let's see, we're going to play the desperation move. At this point, I think all is considered lost, right? At this point, we're going to lose, but we might as well lose in a blaze of glory. And so we go with knight to d4. All right, we're hitting the queen.
Also hitting the rook.
Hitting the rook?
Yeah, bishop hits the rook.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yep, we got this. Now we're hitting the rook. We got kind of a double attack going on. Kind of a cool move. But absolutely desperation. So ChatGPT says you're striking back with an active counterplay. Nice move.
Yep.
And immediately takes the knight with the pawn. And you can see that immediately I now have more open exposed pawns. And so now the bishop comes in and takes one of the rooks to deal with the immediate threat. Grabbing the rook, bold material gain, he says. Okay, so knight takes e6 check. So now he takes e6 check. And so, okay, king's in some trouble. And we go king to g8.
So we can recapture the rook. Sorry, the knight. When they take the rook.
Say that again? What are you thinking?
My thinking behind that was just to recapture the knight after they take the rook.
Ah, I see. Okay, because yes, you got forked. You got forked, and clearly that would be a one of the better moves to do, you would think. So what does ChatGPT do here? Bishop to h7 check. Bishop to h7. So
Bishop just slides up.
So instead of taking the piece, slides up a square, and now
which is quite mean.
Yeah, not a lot of safe squares left. You kind of your choices are bad and bad,
It's a double check.
and so it is a double check. So he moves over, and all of a sudden, all
Everything is
sorts of
hanging.
things are hanging.
Everything is now hanging.
Right? And so now, okay, you're escaping the checks. Nice defensive play. Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
and this is where it gets interesting. He continues with queen to g6 and says, checkmate.
Good game.
Good game. Proud of you. Well done. Nice try. Only problem is it's not checkmate. so we're like, hello, it's not checkmate. We can go here. And they go, you're right. The game continues. I'm like, really? This is ChatGPT. No kidding. All right. So the game continues and they continue with bishop to b. So again, Karsten, you fully expect to get killed. I mean, this
exactly,
is a massively losing position. There is no chance of winning here.
Mm-hmm.
So he continues with bishop to b4 check.
B4 is over there.
Bishop to b4. So okay, so they're coming around. Oh, nice skewer against this guy
who was already
hanging. Could have taken.
But they have so many in between moves that it doesn't even matter.
Yeah. So now again we're down to one move.
Besides c5.
Besides c5. Yep. And so we go there. All right. And then, again, boom. We've got this piece massively hanging. We've got a hanging bishop over here. There's a lot of opportunity here on the board. So what does ChatGPT do? You maneuver your king to safety. Good move. Knight to f8 check. So knight goes ahead, takes the rook, check again.
And I recapture.
We're running low on opportunities, and now we go rook to f8. So we recapture. And
both of our pieces are now hanging.
And now hung the rook. You hung the rook on purpose at that point?
I mean, well, think. What else could I do? I could run away.
It's true. I mean, you only had these squares. Really... Yeah, we were.
They're gonna infiltrate and they're gonna take everything.
You're holding on and fighting back. Well played. Well played.
100%. Yep.
So now bishop takes f8. So we lose yet another rook. And so I think at this point you were like, well, you're running out of pieces. You're like, oh yeah, I still have a bishop up there, right?
Yeah, he just never took it.
And he just never took it. So
he kept giving me checks.
So now we have an opportunity to get that bishop out of harm's way and go D5. Bishop to d5. So kind of centralize the bishop, and you can see the score of 13, and in some miracle actually hitting a weak pawn. Mm-hmm. So actually having some counterplay. So. And sure enough, he says, you're activating your bishop to block and create counterplay. Nice move. So here we are on move 31. And this is still a massively superior position for black, or for white. And we continue with queen f5. Queen f5 check.
Yeah, queen to f5.
Okay, so remove there. Bam. Okay.
Wants to win the pawn.
Yep, lots of opportunity there. King doesn't have a lot of opportunities. Or we could block. And so I think he chooses to block.
Indeed.
Bishop to e6. Boom. Again, hitting that weak pawn.
How are we hitting the weak pawn?
This pawn here.
It's pinned. The bishop is pinned.
Well, that's true. If he moves it out of the way, yeah. Absolutely. All right. We continue with queen takes e6 check.
What? King takes e6? Oh, wait. Oh.
Queen to...
Oh, okay. So yeah. So here you see why I sacked the queen, because I knew he'd take it again.
Yeah, this is a very interesting ChatGPT move.
It's a very interesting
queen
concept.
To e6 check.
A distant queen sacking.
Yes. So that was really interesting, and the obvious move was for the king to just take the queen. I didn't understand it, but all of a sudden it gave us like a sliver of hope for the game, which was completely lost.
It's still completely losing.
Was craziness, and he's like, "You're taking the queen, necessary for survival." Like what? All right, we've already had one fake checkmate. Why not? Okay, so now this next move is bishop to e4. I gotta find the. There we go. Bishop to e4. So kind of centralizing that bishop.
Preventing my king from going to d5 and trying to eat the pawns.
Okay, and then we go c5.
Try a pawn break. There's no hope.
Yeah, we're really still in desperation land here.
I'm in desperation.
Now it's d to c5, and then b to c5. Okay. Again, more pieces hanging, and then he does bishop to c5. So he's just gobbling up pawns now. We're running low on pawns. We got pawn problems. Okay, and now we do king to e5. No, king to c5.
King takes e5.
What's that?
King takes e5.
I think. Well, here's this might have been a mistake. I said king takes c5.
Oh no! Wait.
I put the wrong move on here.
Oh wait, hold on. You said something.
King takes c. Well, you can't even get to c5. So,
But in the
I
game,
meant e5.
Oh, so maybe that's where ChatGPT got it all wrong.
I don't know. Yeah. So.
Wait, is it just your fault?
But well, at this point it might have been. But let's see. I can't just magically spawn over to c5 and take the bishop. So that's not going to work. You're centralizing your king, staying active. Da da da. All right. So, but it definitely said king to c5 in the thing. So a little bit of an oopsie on the part of the Hasselberg here. We're sorry.
I didn't
But
know that.
all right.
Never told me that.
I didn't notice till just now. All right, so now time for him to activate his king. King to d2.
And hang his bishop in one move.
King to d2, and then we go king takes d4, I said.
So technically we just hopped over to the bishop and
I said d4, but apparently I meant e4 again, so I made a bad move. The ChatGPT's all right, there's a little bit of human error here going on. In what it's all right, so that's what I meant to do, not what actually happened. All right, so then he continues with f3. All right, and then I go to king takes f3. Why not? Well, that's interesting because he had no idea I was there. He didn't say f3 check. He just said f3. And now you can see in purple, that usually means that's a stalemate square.
There's still some defects with that.
Yeah, that's still in prototype, but that's a stalemate square. And so then he immediately takes the stalemate square. And
now the king is.
It's not really stalemate because this guy we still have moves. So he immediately we go a5, and now there's a ton of stalemate squares. And
although some of them aren't correct.
And so then he goes and he meets a5 with a4, and then we have stalemate. And then I say stalemate on the screen here, and he says, "Wait a minute, you've got moves." And I said, "Where can the king move?" And he's like, "You're right. After 39, a4, your king is on f3." Somehow it figured out my king's on f3.
Well, yeah, because you said king to f3. It understands. It'll say, it'll be like, okay, you teleported your king. That's normal.
But I didn't say king to f3. I guess I did. King takes f3. So it somehow it went. Yeah, I got it. Okay, so but it put me back on f3, and then it doesn't agree that the stalemate. But then it says let's really see, and it's sure enough stalemate. So great game. It says. You played well and held on, even in a tough position. Let's analyze the mistakes you could have made. And then this analysis
is garbage.
Is total junk. I can't even begin to describe how bad it was. I asked him to analyze his own game as well. And he kind of left off important things like I called it checkmate when it wasn't, and a few other important things. And now I feel kind of sheepish because I actually typed in two moves that were wrong, and it didn't say nay Buttercup, you can't go there.
Yeah,
I know where we wanted to go. We went where we were supposed to go, but yeah, it didn't quite work out. So. unfortunately, when we were got to, I think we were running to like that spot. I accidentally said, yeah, at this moment right here, I said take c5, not e5, and then just it
Yeah.
went south. So
Yeah, and you just
anyway,
forgot.
I hope this was fun for you. This is the first time Karsten and I have tried recording one of our games against ChatGPT. We may do another one just because it was so entertaining.
Hmm.
The ChatGPT series of how to lose at chess. But it was really weird. I actually asked ChatGPT. I'm like, did you play your best, or did you go easy on us? You know, did you
Yeah,
play like what was one of the what that what Martin, did you play like Martin on purpose, or did you
yeah,
you
Martin.
know
Martin.
Martin the bot, right?
Did you feel like
And he
Martin?
swears he plays his best, but I'm not sure.
I'm not
So
sure. Although he does understand the very advanced concept of interdimensional queen sack.
yes, yes, there's all sorts of weird. So thank you very much. This is Christian and Karsten, and signing off. And hope you guys enjoyed this.